Good morning, everybody. Today, I want to share with you and hopefully inspire you with how my patients have lost up to 350 pounds. And that's not collectively. I actually have a patient that has lost over 350 pounds and has kept it off. I think we're at year 7 now. And I think so many things that we hear through the media and celebrities and everyone, they're engaging with medications to help suppress appetite. Unfortunately, for the long term, there's going to be a bit of an unsustainability, in my opinion. One, some of these medications have significant side effects. They're very expensive, and who's going to pay for it? Is the individual going to pay for it? Is the employer going to pay for it? The insurance going to pay for it? And at the end of the day, we will collectively end up paying for this with increased premiums and such. The other piece of this with medication is that we don't address the root cause. And of course, this is a complex matter. It's very individual as far as, where they are in their journey and how they came to the point that they felt they needed a prescription to help lower weight. And absolutely, these can be lifesavers and game changers for someone who's really, really struggling. But I think we're amiss if we don't also address the mental aspects of weight loss and seeing the psychology of weight loss is such an important piece for long-term sustainability and a really healthy way to live in this crazy environment that we've created for ourselves as humans and maintain a healthy weight and a healthy mindset about it. So you're not feeling deprived or anxious or really struggling with your social circles and such. So anyway, I wanted to highlight how my patients have been very successful with their weight loss. It doesn't mean it wasn't a struggle or that there were some ups and downs or some other things occurring, but I do want to share with you that it can absolutely be done. And it's not a matter of iron will and gritting through and just making it happen. Like you'll see some influencers suggest that that's the way that people are lazy and that they just can't do it. That's not the case. Your brain is just doing what the brain does. And it's like it likes food, just like I like salt and processed foods. It tastes great, but doesn't mean I should be consuming it, right? So how do you deal with that? How do you overcome that and live in this environment and engage with people on a regular basis in this modern world and still yet maintain a healthy weight loss? Well, I do think there is some pieces here that one we need to understand that the reason I started my podcast 8 years ago was I really wanted to understand why some people were successful in losing significant amount of weight and others weren't, where they really struggled to even, they kept losing the same 5 or 10 pounds, or they'd gain more than they lost previously because of this yo-yo dieting effect. And then what was it that allowed someone to suddenly shift and be successful in losing weight, 200, 300 pounds and maintain it for the long haul? Well, I think there's a mental shift that does occur, right? So they understood at the end of the day, they were literally the composer of their health, their architect of their life. And they decided that they were done suffering, right? They had decided to make different decisions, even if it was hard and even if they didn't know exactly how to get started, but they just decided to make a different decision. And when you make that decision, you're being very mindful of the choices that you're making in your day-to-day life because they have a huge impact when you think about the compound effect of these smaller habits. And so I want to just lay that at your feet to think about because it really is a matter of dealing with this first and everything else seems to follow. Like I said, doesn't mean it's super easy and always going to just be, sunshine and roses. There will be times that you doubt yourself or someone will doubt themselves or they will struggle. And that's where community is really important. But anyway, so what was the first thing that they did? I think you're going to know what I'm going to say first. This is nutrition, it's calories. At the end of the day, this is, if you just want to get that to the brass tacks of it, is a calorie consumption, calorie out thing. That is just the way it is. If people try to tell you that it's not just calories at the end of the day, and then granted, like I said, there are nuances, hormonal influx and different things, but you still have to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. That is all there is to it. If we're not dealing with someone with some type of heart failure or renal failure where we're dealing with weight because of fluid retention or something like that, that's a separate issue. But at the end of the day, you have to be in a caloric deficit. Doesn't mean you have to be in a dramatic caloric deficit, no, but you also need to be moving your body and addressing these other things. But when at the end of the day, simple formula, you have to be in some type of caloric deficit. Well, how can you do that and not feel deprived and not feel hungry? Well, there's this wonderful thing called a whole food plant-based diet. You're like, oh man, here she goes again. Yes, of course, here I go again, because I've seen it do amazing things with thousands of people over decades. So this is what I would suggest. Think about your foods as calorie packets, right? So when you look at animal products, one, they do contain pro-inflammatory things and things like cholesterol and saturated fats that we don't want to be intaking. But even just from a caloric density aspect, they are more dense than your plant foods. So fruits, veggies, beans, whole grains, these are amazingly calorically less dense foods than some of these animal products. Sorry, Daisy's very excited because someone's at the door. Daisy, you're my baby. And so that's one thing to keep in mind, is that you're going to be consuming foods that are calorically less dense and that they will allow you to eat a larger amount of food. You will feel satiated because you're stretching those stomach receptors, and you will lose weight because you're already eating less calorically dense foods. Now, can you gain weight on a plant-based diet? Yes, especially if you're eating processed plant foods. Someone's at the doorbell. And so, sorry guys, but yes, you can absolutely lose weight because you're eating less calorically dense foods. And as long as you're avoiding processed foods, nuts and seeds and oils, things like that, because those are very calorically dense foods, that's what you have to be very mindful of and careful of when you're consuming a plant-based diet. But if you're focused on a whole food plant-based diet, you can still consume like a quarter cup of nuts and seeds a day and be fine in your weight loss journey. So that's number one, a calorically less dense whole food plant-based diet. Number two, they did consistent physical activity. Now, physical activity has been found not to really necessarily cause the weight loss unless you're doing dramatic endurance events, but two, it helps you maintain and sustain weight loss. When you lose weight, moving your body, especially when you're building muscle mass, that'll help you become more metabolically efficient, right? So think about muscles as your metabolic furnace. So the more you do that, the more efficiently you're going to be utilizing the calories that you consume, and you become more insulin sensitive. And then we're looking hormonally, everything's beautiful and bright. So move your body. Just starting with walking is great, but building in that resistance piece is really important. At least 3 times a week, 25, 30 minutes, heavier weights, compound movements, those seem to be the ones that really help. Next, when you think about each of my patients, there were some nuances. Maybe they were dealing with rheumatoid arthritis or heart failure or kidney disease or inflammatory bowel disease, hypertension. Then we look at really giving individualized nutritional guidance, right? So this may be, yes, you eat a whole food plant-based diet and you may just be able to go out and eat what you want, or maybe we need to structure things a little bit. So if someone's having a flare of inflammatory bowel disease and you should be on medications appropriately, let's put out the forest fire. Then we can talk about planting the new forest. One that would include maybe cooked foods and blended foods, so it's a little bit easier for the gut to digest. So if I'm talking to someone who's a very insulin resistant individual, right, and so they're using a high amount of medications to control blood sugars, that may require someone to eat a more insulin resistant friendly type plant-based diet. And what I mean by that is eating lower glycemic index foods in the beginning so we don't cause those blood sugars to rise so quickly. They absolutely will be able to, in their journey, continue to eat or go back to eating more higher glycemic foods like bananas and watermelon and things like that. But in the beginning, maybe we'll focus in on lower glycemic index foods. So that is the key there on that piece. And by the way, when you improve your insulin sensitivity, you will see amazing help with, weight loss, because your insulin hormone, which is a very important hormone, you need insulin, does cause weight promotion, right? And so if you're taking medications that promote an excess of insulin to be produced by your already exhausted pancreas cells, your beta cells, or you're taking insulin because you need it to control your blood sugars as a type 2, someone with type 2 diabetes, not necessarily type 1, but you can see an improvement with type 1 in blood sugars as well. It's a separate story and post. But what we can see here is with an improvement in insulin sensitivity, you will get a decrease in your insulin amounts in your body circulating, and you will see an accelerated weight loss. Sometimes medications like beta blockers will also promote weight. Some types of medications for depression or anxiety. If you start feeling better and you see some mental health improvements, maybe you start seeing a need to decrease those. Or if you see some improvement in your numbers with your blood pressure, we start decreasing medications with side effects that actually cause promotion of weight gain and then further enhance the problem. So just throwing out some of those nuances with the individual. And I think I really want to speak to also the mindful eating piece and stress management, because if you are not taking care of your inner mind and the voice that speaks to you on a regular basis, you're going to find any journey as a struggle, right? So what does that look like? What does mindfulness mean? So that means really being present in your life at that moment, and this moment that's continually changing. And so there's a few different things you can do. One is really understanding that breath work is fantastic. You can look online. There's all sorts of stuff. You can do meditation if that works for you. I do mindful walks every morning where I'm really just allowing nature to take me where my mind needs to go. I find that my intentions set for the day are much more in tune with my purpose in life, which is to help people understand how they can find health and really thrive. And so the mindful eating piece is really understanding the habits of eating, where we're not eating necessarily to nourish our bodies, but to feed an emotion or to dismiss some type of discomfort or discontent in our lives. And I think that's really an important thing to understand. And once you become aware of it, right, you're now mindful of the situation and how you're engaging with different choices, you can make and learn to create new habits and dismantle the ones that were becoming more destructive and maybe feeding the chronic disease like hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol such, or weight gain. So mindful eating, you can start as simple as eating with your opposite hand unless you're ambidextrous, but if I eat with my right hand, typically you can eat with your left hand. And that's just becoming, again, forces you to pay attention to the moment. You're not going to be scarfing down your food, removing any distractions, really understanding that food is there to nourish your body and thinking about it in that way. And then understanding, again, the habits. I have some great resources on that. I have a free 21-day weight loss program. You can sign up on the drmarbus.com website. I also have a psychology of weight loss course. I go deep into this, and I provide free monthly ongoing coaching and live for everybody who joins as long as you need it. You just have to sign up for the course. So there's that piece. And then the stress management comes, I think, with the mindfulness. The more you're understanding the need for mindfulness in your life, stress gets much easier to deal with, and you're not finding that you are as stressed as you were before. Mindfulness has literally shifted my entire life. My way of being and living has dramatically improved. And I thought I had a wonderful life. I still do. But my engagement with my life is much more live. It's not dull, and not even that it was dull, but it's more enriched. How about that? And I just want that for everybody who chooses to engage with life, as we all should. Next, I think finally is community and support is so critical. If you are trying to walk this alone, it can be really hard when everyone's telling you different things. You get confused even by the experts in the plant-based field. You may hear some conflicting messages. And is it carnivore or keto, or don't eat this plant or eat that plant and do this and do that? And again, I think you figure out what works best for you as your person right now, given your current circumstances, and then find some community that will support you in whatever you choose to do. And that can be online, it can be in person, it could be family, it could be spouse, colleagues, whoever that is in your life. Those are the ones you need to continue to gather around you. And we provide that as well online. If you're interested, it's called The Healing Kitchen. Brittany Giroudi lost 70 pounds on a whole food plant-based diet and has kept it off for several years and is now expecting their first baby in May. And I can't tell you, it's such a wonderful community. We meet weekly live. We do recipes and I answer medical questions. And we also offer 2 workshops. Tomorrow, for example, Erin Stanzik is joining us on how to raise a family on a plant-based diet live. That's free to our members. And then I'm doing a longevity lovers workshop this Saturday where I provide an ebook and I do an hour-long presentation of understanding some special topic. I've done osteoporosis, what plant-based labs you should be doing, plant-based 101. And by the way, if you don't want to do Healing Kitchen or you're just interested in one of those topics, you can look on the website, drmars.com, and we do have those replays and ebooks workshops available for those who would like to investigate that. So anyway, we are providing as much as we can to help. Lots of free stuff here. So I think at the end of the day, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. I'm just going to highlight again a whole food plant-based diet because it's less calorically dense than ultra processed foods or animal products. Plus, it's more anti-inflammatory, reversing chronic disease. You're losing medications that may be promoting weight. You consistent physical activity that works for you in your current state of health. Next is mindful eating and stress management, and that will engage you in healthier sleep as well. So the sleep piece really feeds into all of this. And then just really working on community and support. So anyway, I hope you find that helpful. And I know that can be a struggle, especially when everyone around you is telling you to do something differently, but you're just not feeling well and you're like, something needs to change. So I hope this is helpful for you. And as always, I want to say thanks for joining me today. And again, the question was someone's asking about the website for the Healing Kitchen. It's just drmarbas.com. I'll update the link here in a second, but DRMARB as in boy, AS.com, and just click on top and it'll say Healing Kitchen and you can check out what we have to offer there. So again, thank you everyone for being here. And as always, I know time is the one thing you can give away and you never get back. And so I so appreciate everyone here. And I'm just sending you joy, love, peace, healing, and abundance because we just need a little bit more of that in everyday's life. So thanks again, and I'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, so hope that was helpful. Thanks.